Hi, Alexia. You're on mute.
I am?
No, not you, Pilar. Alexia. But I know Pilar is Nancy for
Hi
today.
everyone.
Hi, Alexia.
Trying to figure this out.
No worries. We'll give everybody some time. Mm-mm-mm. Alexia, are you on your phone? Probably is. Before jumping on, I just went quickly to grab my screen cleaner because I'm like, my screen had all sorts of fingerprints everywhere. I'm like, okay, clean up my act a little bit.
I gotta do that too. With that in my phone.
Yeah. We have Mayola joining.
I'm going to flip a light. It's getting dark.
No worries. Hi, Mayo. We see you.
I hear you now. Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries. Hi.
Hey.
Yay. Okay, we'll wait a little bit more to give other people some time. I should have thought, most of us are Latinos. I should have said 5:50 so that by 6, everybody's on.
Well, it's so funny because I wrote down 6 o'clock, pero I was getting ready and I'm like, oh, it's at 6:30. Y de momento I was like, wait a minute, let me go back and check. So I only did like half my makeup. I was like, ah! I've literally been on calls all day.
No worries.
But I did do my hair for you guys. I did wash my hair.
I did put my eyeliner and I put some pink lipstick on.
And I have like gloss and a bright sweater instead of I have my grandma sweater on all week.
I put on earrings.
Yeah.
Getting out of me, Nancy. Earrings.
Earrings. There we go.
It does make a difference. Earrings totally make a difference. I'm like, earrings.
They do. I need some good pair of hoops like those, Angie.
So I used to buy like the actual like thin gold ones, like for $50-$60. And then I would lose them because they would get not like tangled in my hair. And so I went to like the kids like jewelry stores or whatever, and they sell them by like 10 for like nothing.
Oh my
and so
God.
I literally go in and I take off the whole thing, and it's usually like I'll spend like $20-$30 and have like 15 pairs of earrings. They're everywhere in my house.
Oh wow.
So I only wear like this style. This is because they're super, super light, and if I lose one, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I feel like hoops are having a comeback.
Oh, they've been having a comeback,
right?
Yeah.
I'm behind.
Clicking, guessing his joining the call.
Who?
Emil.
Emil is right there. Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's like, wait a minute, hoops, makeup. Wait, no, this is not.
What his wife.
He's like sweatshirt, jogger, cool hat.
Hoops are definitely coming back, guys. Come on.
Okay, I have Lucy joining us.
I invited Lucy, Mariel, Marco, and Sandra.
Okay.
Nice.
Lucy should be connecting.
Ya sabes, you got the publicist here, girl. I'm gonna spread the word.
Yes, thank you. Lucy, did you hear us?
So Nancy, there's a little bit of a like, it sounds like a fan or something. Does anybody else have sound in the background?
I hear it too.
Pilar like gets up really quickly.
I can see.
Yeah, I have a fan. Thank you. I have a fan going. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally like calmed it down a little bit. there's still a little bit of a buzz, but that's okay. I just always think about like the recording.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so we are recording the session, everybody.
Right.
FYI. It's already just clicked record. Does Lucy hear us, Mayo? I see she's on.
Cobarde, ponte en cámara.
Ahí estás, Lucy! Hey!
You're on mute, girlfriend. Unmute. Unmute.
Oh yeah, hi.
There you go.
Hi, Lucy. Okay, we'll give it to 6:05, and then we'll start on our end. And as people pop in, then they can do a quick introduction of themselves, where they're from, what they're currently doing, just a quick little 1-minute express intro. I'm hoping everybody. So yeah, we'll just give it like a minute more. Yeah, I still hear that fan.
I know. I hear something too. It's like
Not me.
Yeah, it's not me. I have no fan. I have the window closed.
But you know what? Yeah, because of noise on the outside. Working from home,
yeah.
you know, and just getting home, like everyone's home now. And I live in a condo, so it's hard to have all your windows closed.
It could be someone's computer. Hi, Pilar.
Hello there, Mayola. How are you?
We're hanging in there.
There we go. There we go.
It could be someone's computer modem that's overheating.
The fan?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not mine.
It's coming out.
I just turned mine on like 30
forever.
We'll make it work.
You know,
So
this is my favorite.
yeah, okay. So let's start. As people pop in, I'll just have them quickly introduce themselves. So thank you everybody so far for being punctual. First and foremost. So how we're gonna. This is our first quarantine podcast / TED Talk club that I initiated. One, because everybody that knows me knows that I love listening to TED Talks and podcasts, and I'm always sharing that content on my social media. And people have been asking me actually like, oh, I miss seeing like your podcast updates or clips of this. And it's because one, I've been working from home, so I don't have that hour commute. And two, my commute now is like, it's really bad, but I start at 9. So it'll be like 8:45 and my alarm's going off and I'll like change and be ready by 9. So I could make the effort to wake up earlier, but so I just kind of thought it would be cool to create the space for us to come together and just listen to something outside of what we're listening to every day in the news. And I wanted to bring in also, I'm going to start doing these on a weekly basis and have a special guest speaker. In this case, we have the honor of having Angie Correa. Many of you guys know her from the ELLAS Annual Empowerment Conference. But she will also, after we're done with our discussion, she will introduce herself and work her magic. Everybody knows, well, she's an executive coach for women, but she is overall, we brought her in our ELLAS conference last year as a motivational speaker, and the girls absolutely fell in love with her. We had a lot of positive feedback, so I wanted to bring her in. I think she would be a good resource to have right now in the times that we're currently living in. So I'm gonna quickly go around and introduce myself. I'll start off with myself and then I'll go down the list and everybody kind of chime in and introduce themselves as well. So Nancy Correa, for those of that don't know me, but I'm sure everybody here does. Originally from Long Beach. I recently left Univision, but I was with Univision Bay Area out here in the news department as a digital producer for a year. And I just recently started last week a new gig with Google in San Francisco as a global content editor. So just kind of starting off on some weird times. We have a number that just joined. So
That's Sandra Marquez.
oh, okay. Hola, Sandra. So
Hello, everyone.
hi, thank you for joining. So we're just going around doing quick introductions right now. Okay, so Alexia, if you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself very quickly, just give us your name, what you do, and how you're currently doing. If you're well, we want to hear how you're doing right now. Just a quick 1 minute express intro.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm really happy to be here right now. It's nice to see other faces. My name's Alexia, and I live in Hayward, in the Bay Area.
Woo!
Um,
You're my neighbor. I'm in Castro Valley.
oh yeah, yeah. It's almost Castro Valley, but I live like literally a street away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I currently work at a nonprofit organization called Reading Partners. We do one-on-one literacy intervention for kids who are struggling with reading in grades K through 4. I work at an elementary school in San Lorenzo, actually. Um, and I'm hanging in there. I mean, school's closed, so I'm being allowed to work from home for now. But it's a really scary moment right now because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if the schools are going to reopen. Like there's talk about them being closed down for the remaining of the school year. So it's a really scary situation that I'm going through right now, but hanging in there.
Yes, we're all here for one another. So thank you for sharing that, Alexia. Okay, Emil, do you hear us?
I can hear you. There.
Okay, your turn, my friend.
Hello, everybody. I'm Emil. I used to work with Nancy over at Univision. I'm one of the photographers. And I guess, yeah, we're doing fine over here. I mean, I've been a freelancer since 2002, so being jobless is nothing new to me. As a freelancer, I'm pretty much jobless every day, at the end of every day. Even though I have had, at least a dozen clients cancel events on me, I'm lucky that I cover the news, and we kind of need that right now. So I'm pretty blessed that I still have work and I'm still needed. So yeah,
Thank you, Emil.
Yeah.
Yes, where's your wife?
Doing good, yeah, doing good.
Oh, they're good? Okay, good. His little kid is so cute.
Yeah.
He brought him around to the office a few times. Okay, Lucy, I'm tapping you in.
There. Hi, everybody. I'm Lucy Anguiano, for those of you that don't know me. I am originally from Guatemala, and I work with Univision. I've been with the company for 14 years, but I have been in the industry for many, many more years. I wouldn't say how many, but quite a few. And I handle a lot of fun things at the station. I handle marketing, promotions, and I work with a great group of people. I have friends, a lot of good friends at the office. And I'm okay. I'm okay right now. I've been working from home for over a week and a half, but I'm doing well. Just looking forward to going back to my regular life, but a lot of time to think and enjoy and actually get into like things that we need that we actually take granted for.
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, very quickly before I move forward, can everybody for a second mute your microphones? I'm trying to figure out where this noise is coming from. Lucy,
I don't know why I think it's you.
It's me? If it is, that's really odd because
If you're on laptops, maybe everybody lift up your laptop. Maybe it's like
but I just had like another Google conference call earlier, and I didn't hear this noise, and I used this laptop.
Yeah.
So, Pilar, do you know how to? Do you know how to put your microphone on mute, Pilar?
Yeah, I just did, but it didn't do anything. But I probably have one of the oldest PCs here, but I love it. And I hope it's not mine.
Oh, okay. So were you able to put it on mute? On the little screen, there's a little like red button to mute it.
Let me see.
Or it's like a gray button.
I was doing it on my keyboard.
Oh no, on the screen. When you hover over your screen, your main screen, right now where you're looking at your face, it should have like a... There we go! Okay, Pilar, it's your computer. It's okay. Whenever you need to speak, just unmute yourself, okay? Don't worry. Okay, so next I'm gonna call on the list Mayola.
Hey everyone, my name is Mayola Delgado. I am the Director of Community Empowerment and Communications for Univision in LA. I have been with the company second time around, 9 years, but started my career there as an intern and left for about 10 years before coming back to Univision. And I've worked for NBC Universal and a grassroots marketing company that does a lot of work with brands and independent retailers. Needless to say, you know, anyone in this industry, you know, present company with Lucy included, it's all hands on deck, everything COVID right now. It is, I'm not going to say a little bit overwhelming. I'm not going to undersell it. It is extremely overwhelming. It's really kind of nice to be able to kind of walk away. We are in self-quarantine. Both Lucy and I and a couple of other friends have been there on a daily, just kind of chatting and talking to one another because we live alone. Which is good, right? But I think the weekend hit, and for me, that was probably the hardest because, you know, you have a little more time to yourself, and, you know, shame on me for saying, God, you know, I wish I could just stay home one weekend and just do nothing. And here it is, and it was going a little bonkers. But, you know, I think if it gets down to like sorting out my socks, I'm probably going to end up going back to the office.
Yeah.
But no lie, Saturday was probably the worst. And I'll say why, because my mom is in a skilled facility and they're on complete shutdown. So I have not been able to see her. She doesn't have a phone anymore because she has dementia. We have to rely on her caretaker to patch us in and be able to talk to her and see her. But I would say Saturday was the worst because it had been a week since I was able to see her, touch her, kiss her, talk to her. And freely speaking, the biggest fear I have is when all this is over, she won't recognize us. So
yeah,
weekend was rough, but during the week, work keeps us busy.
Yes, and I hope that I'm glad that you were able to join us here too, because kind
Thank
of
you
get
for doing this, by the way.
distracted. Yes, no problem. Out of everything. Thank you, Mayo. Sandra. Sandra Marquez.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Mayo invited me to this, so this is my first time. Well, Sandra Marquez. I work at Univision with the Creative Services Department. So I work very closely, actually, with Lucy and Mayo. Before this, I was mostly in the music industry at Sony Music and another label called Nacional Records, and then I transferred into Univision, which was originally why I studied communications and journalism. So moving forward, it's been I've learned so much where I'm at. Right now I'm learning even more about how this business really works and the importance of what we do. Again, like Mayo said, it has been very overwhelming because, you know, I'm here, my mom and dad, which is basically my whole family, they're in Mexico. So between that and me having asthma, just trying to not psych myself out every time that I need to use my inhaler. But other than that, you know, just pushing through, it's like having to dive into my face every single day to get through each day. But it's nice meeting everyone.
Yes, likewise, Sandra. Thank you for taking the time to joining us. And we're all here feeling kind of like under the same boat with all this uncertainty and during these times. So I'm going to leave it open right now for the chat group. If everybody can write in there like a key takeaway you guys got from this TED Talk by Maria. That was one of the a homework assignment to listen to it before joining our live Google Hangouts today. But so while we're having a discussion in the chat group, if you can, just add your key takeaway. But the question really is, and I sent an email, well, 2 emails today, one in the morning and one like around 5-ish. around the topic, to keep in mind this question, like what event in your life made you realize you're not invisible? Because, you know, the TED Talk goes about going from invisible to visible. And that was her story that she talked about in the TED Talk. When did you have that like breakthrough moment that you knew that perhaps because of your upbringings or whatever might have occurred to you in your life at some point, that you felt you were never going to be actually visible? And I'll open it up. I'll open up that discussion. And I hope that at some point everybody kind of joins and shares their thoughts around this question. So for myself, when I was listening to this TED Talk and I was writing up this question and sending it out to you guys, was really the moment that I felt that I was no longer invisible was when I felt in a way I always felt that I wasn't necessarily making an impact to anybody, but it was till the day that I started working at Univision and I started getting involved in going to talk to schools, to students. I started volunteering for this nonprofit organization in SoCal called United Friends of the Children, which they work with foster kids. And I came across this nonprofit organization when I was interning with Mayola back in 2013, the Community Affairs Department at Univision Los Angeles. So a few years later, I decided to get involved, and they asked me one day when they knew where I was working and they knew my background, that I was a former, also a foster home youth. And they asked me to go to a conference and to talk to them and share my story because they felt that it was very inspirational. And I never thought I was going to be in a position at any time in my life where I would actually share my story to other kids. And when that moment happened, it felt like I wasn't invisible. I didn't need to hide that anymore, that this was more of an empowering side to me. And I think the whole breakthrough moment was after the back, I got so many letters from the students that they hand wrote and they got them delivered to me through the organization. And reading everything was just so inspiring. And here I was sitting and I thought to myself, here I thought that my story was shameful. I was always hiding it. I didn't want to talk about it. And I'm in a position where many kids now in the foster youth system were listening to me talk to them that day in the conference room and just telling them, you know, my success story when it comes to being a first generation graduate from even high school, the first in my family to receive a diploma from a university. Like the whole transition and just receiving and reading those letters, I think that's the moment that I genuinely felt that I was not invisible and that my story had power. And reading those letters of gratitude and people thanking me for taking the time out of my day. And I never felt like I was taking any time out of my day. I just felt like I was more nervous more than anything. But when I was listening to Maria and her TED Talk of going from invisible to visible, that came to mind. That moment for me was that breakthrough moment. That event that occurred to me was a moment when I realized, hey, you need to snap out of it. You're not invisible. Like your story is very visible and other kids are still living it in this moment. So I just wanted to share that with you guys in regards to this question that I draft up today. So it's open mic.
Well, thank you for sharing. I feel like I should jump in really quickly, and I know I'll do an intro later, but I think one of the things, especially that we have so many people who are in media right now, and I came from media, I worked at NBC for a long time in Terra, and I think one of the things that she said was being able to give the mic to those who don't have a voice, right? It was something to that effect, and it was like, yes. Because throughout like everything that I've done, I feel like it's led me to this where I'm at right now, of being able to really be a stand. And that's what that really means, like being a stand for the marginalized, being a stand for those who don't feel like they have justice, being a stand for those whose whose stories aren't being told, who don't have, you know, their voice to really truly articulate. And that's our responsibility, right? We've been exposed to so many more things. And so we get to be that like pillar of hope for so many others.
Anybody else wants to share?
Can I jump in here, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay. I think all of you know me, Pilar. I'm the founder of ELLAS, a nonprofit serving the greater LA area. But the moment for me when I worked for the community college district for many years, and I was subbing in the health center at the front desk so they could keep it open. And there was a nurse there, and she would listen to me speak Spanish and then English. And one day she just approached me and she said, gee, Pilar, your English is just so clear and you're so articulate and you speak Spanish. And I said, yeah, I do both languages. It was a given in my household. And she says, well, you just don't fit the stereotype of a Mexican. You don't even dress like a Mexican. And I think for me, that was a moment that I said, how are we perceived as Latinas, as women? I always just thought of myself as a woman. I own my culture. I love it. But the person within that, at the end of the day, I'm a woman. And so that's where I felt that so many young women perhaps have that same experience, that we're perceived a certain way and we're not encouraged or motivated to see beyond that. So that's why I founded ELLAS, to elevate, to give an exposure to young women in underprivileged communities, to be able to see the broader vision of potential. And so that was, I think, for myself, because I was not a benefactor of affirmative action. And I think resources in history all have their layers. And I just felt that in this particular century, this 21st century, there are more Latinas moving forward. But to have a circle of professional women to encourage and motivate them on, to me, meant 21st century. It's what we need to do. We need to, in larger numbers, come forward and help the larger populations out there. So that was my invisible to visible, and ELLAS works to make every young girl feel visible.
Thank you for sharing that, Pilar. Emil, Mayo, Lucy, Sandra, Alexia.
Okay. Maybe for me, I wasn't able to see the video prior to, because I joined in to all of this really late. So actually I did this at the last minute. But based on what you guys are saying, and what the takeaway is, it's something that it always, like I said, I've been in the industry for a long time, but I've always done my job and I've always do whatever I have to do, not thinking of doing it to get something back from anybody. And I'm the type of person that talks to people. I like to talk. I like to, I don't know how to say it, but
They're social.
yeah, but
Social
but
butterfly.
but in a different way. So I had a lot of people that I mentored while I was on different companies that I worked with. I worked for a big company prior to this, and I did so many things, but I never did it with the purpose of getting anything in return. I just did it because it me nació, like I felt like doing it. And it didn't dawn on me until about, what was it, about last year, that it was a little domino effect, because there was this girl from, you guys know her, Channel 7. She started with us as an intern. Her name is Annabelle.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know her.
Yeah, yeah. She was an intern with us at Univision, and I remember that after the Emmys, she won. And when she saw me, she looked at me. She goes, "Hi, Lucy," and I was just, oh, she remembers me. She knows my name because sometimes you forget. And she goes, "Oh my God, I just wanted to say thank you." And I said, "You're welcome, but for what?" She said, "Because you don't know. I still remember the words you said to me the day I left and what you told me. And I just I just thought it was wonderful. And I always have that in my heart." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so awesome." And like a day after that, it was like a domino effect. I had a girl that she worked with me for years and years ago. She still calls me Jefa. So she sent me a text. She goes, "Hey Jefa, I have a question for you." And within a matter of 2 weeks, I received about, I would say, easy 6 people that call me, and maybe I worked with them 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And the things that they said were things like that I never ever thought that I had done. And I was like, "Oh my God, that felt so nice." Yeah,
Wow, that's
really nice.
beautiful. I mean, one
Hmm.
thing I'm going to share very quickly is that every time I would walk into Lucy's office, I would tell her, it feels so peaceful. It was like my zen place. And then before I stepped out back into the chaotic world of
All with
Univision's
the white
hallways.
flowers.
Yes, yes, yes. We just had Elizabeth Palomares join, so I want her to quickly introduce herself, kind of give us a little bit of her background and how she currently is doing. Elizabeth? She's on mute. I'll text her right now, tell her to unmute.
Okay, can you guys
Oh,
hear me?
there we go. We can hear you. Hi.
Hi. So my name is Elizabeth. I'm Ellie, and I have my own skincare studio. I also work with a famous dermatologist in West Hollywood. And what else am I supposed to update on? I'm sorry.
How are you doing? How are you hanging in there with the whole
I'm okay.
quarantine?
I'm cooking right now. Cooking has been something that has been keeping me sane. I mean, it's so simple, but it's keeping me disconnected from like being glued to my phone and like constantly being updated with what's going on. So I have been cooking every day, and I've been going on runs every day. So I feel like I love that we're doing this, but then there's also this part of me where I feel like I need to kind of disconnect and take a step back from my phone and just do things that keep me in the moment so that I don't get caught up in my head and start going, getting crazy with everything that's going on.
That's very true. Thank you, Ellie, for
Yeah.
making it.
You're welcome.
I'm happy
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Thanks.
Okay, so going back to our discussion, did anybody else have anything to add on to that? There's Mayo, Alexia, Sandra.
This is Sandra. So I didn't watch the video either because I came in late to this, but moving forward I will.
Hello. Okay.
Hello?
Okay, there. We could hear you now.
Okay, that was weird. It said that someone muted me, and to unmute myself.
Oh, you know what?
This.
Yeah, it might have been me accidentally. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I don't know what you guys heard, but I haven't watched the video yet. I'll go ahead and watch it. I came in pretty late to this, but I think what's interesting to me is that I started noticing a pattern a few years ago where I just felt like I wasn't, not that I didn't feel that I wasn't memorable to people, but I always felt the need to like, oh, I'm so-and-so every single time that I would see someone, just because I would think, oh, they don't remember me. They probably don't remember my name. They probably don't even know where they know me from. I don't know. I've always had, and I still struggle with it a little bit, but while I was working at Sony Music, I would get to go to Univision a lot too with the artists, and the people that I would meet, they would be like, "Oh yeah, you work at Sony Music, yeah," and I had to take a break. It was a 2-year break. So when I came back and worked at and got my job at Univision, I thought, oh, these people are not going to remember me. And I remember that walking in just the first week, like the people that I did work with while I was at Sony Music, the people, that were coordinating, or just, the producers, like, would actually come up to me and be like, oh, like, I haven't seen you in so long. And I'm like, oh, you do remember me. So, I mean, it's such an interesting, it was such an interesting feeling for me, even to this day. I remember, a few weeks ago, our Dallas team came over, because they're the ones that do most of the radio, Dallas, Houston. And I remember, like, still going up to, her name's Lily, and being like, Lily, I don't know if you, she's like, what do you mean you don't know if I remember you? You worked at Sony Music. And I was like, yeah. She's like, of course I remember you. You were with so-and-so and so-and-so. And I was like, okay, you do. What is it? I guess, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what it is in me that feels that way, but it did help me. Univision, in more than one way, has helped me to be seen. And I don't know if it's because now I'm surrounding myself by the right people. I don't know, but that was like, this year has helped me to understand that I am being seen, that I am being understood, that I'm going in the right direction. So.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing that insight. And I guess we're all in this together, right? It's a journey to get to that point, feeling that point, that breakthrough moment. Mayola, I see that you wrote something in the chat. Not sure if you're able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So yeah, I would say that when I guess the moment that I felt that I was not invisible was when just like you, when I started working at Univision. I started as an intern right before I graduated, and much like your story, I feel like in Sandra's story, I feel like, where we work gives us a great visibility. And for me, it was, going to events and having people say, hi, Mayola, my name is such and such, and I'm like, I'm trying to remember, did I meet this person before? Am I not remembering their name? But it turns out it's like, I heard from someone else that said that you can help me, or they said that I can go to you for this, and would you mind helping me with that? And that for me was a moment where, and I felt it back then, and I think I feel it even more now in this position, because I've been in the industry, I'll say it, 25 years, 24 years, because I was still in college, and even more so in the position that I am now, because I've been in the industry longer. The position that I have brings a lot of light to what I do. My work is with the community. So even more so now, I'll go to events and I'll have people come up to me and introduce themselves. And I feel I have to think back in my Rolodex, like, do I know this person? Did I meet them somewhere else? Like, I'm trying not to, feel like I'm not remembering someone, but it's not the case. It's just people know who I am. And I always felt like, oh, well, you only know me because I work at Univision. And I had a moment where I had a young girl come up to me and said, you spoke at our class, and I just wanted to let you know that what you said resonated with me. And, she's now in college. She was in college at the time that I ran into her. And it feels good to have someone kind of give you that accolade and thinking, okay, well, this is my job. This is what I do, right? Clock in, clock out. I got to go to the school. I got to go talk to them. I got to go to this place and go talk to them as well. But when someone kind of validates and says to you that you made an impact on their life, 4 or 5 years later, that to me felt like, okay, you know what? It's not where I work. It's who I am and what I'm doing that made me feel like I'm not invisible. And I would always joke, oh, they remember me because I'm tall, right? I'm always the tallest one in the room. I'm 6 feet tall. And I always say, soy alta. And I had to stop that, because I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop making excuses, and I'm going to stop being apologetic. It's who I am and what I'm doing, not who I work for. That's where I kind of had to put myself in check.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Mayo. I see that Nancy Moreira just signed in. If you want to quickly just say your name, what you do and how you're doing, just introduce yourself. And then Emil, if you're back on the line, I saw you messaged you had to go clean up your little boy. So we would want to hear your feedback too. Nancy, do you hear us? Yes, she just texted me. She says she's logged in. So, Emil, are you back? Alexia.
I'll go.
Oh, hi, Alexia. Oh my God, look at that. I can see you now.
Oh, yes.
Pilar, can you?
Driving, that's why.
Pilar, can you mute your? Okay, thank you. Okay, no worries. Nice to meet you.
Hi again.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I'm not sure about like a breakthrough moment. I'm only 25. I think I haven't gotten it yet, but so I'm from Mexico, and I was undocumented up until last year. So for me, it was always like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm undocumented, kind of thing. And when I started working at Reading Partners, I shared that with my peers one day for some reason, some training that we were doing, and then after that, I started getting a lot of questions from like the staff asking me, oh, can we get your input on how to go about hiring undocumented college students for to become tutors and things like that. And so it just made me feel like, oh, they actually like listen to me. I'm not invisible anymore. Like they actually want to hear about my story and hear what I have to say. And little by little, they've been doing a couple things from what I've told them to kind of be more inclusive. And so I love that I was able to provide that for them, because the kids that we are working with in these communities are, people of color, their parents are Spanish speakers. A lot of them are also undocumented. So for them not to, have these resources in Spanish or, I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. I totally get it. Like there needs to be those resources for those families that sometimes are neglected per se because they just think all is one, and that's not necessarily the case for everybody. But thank you so much, Alexia, for sharing your story, and I'm glad you were able to make it, and definitely we'll connect more through Instagram. Nancy Moreira, I think your microphone is working now.
Hi guys, how are you ladies?
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, well, I excuse that I don't have a camera, but I'm sure you guys know, well, some of you guys may know me, like Mayo, I know Lucy. So I work at Univision, part of the digital team for radio. So I work closely with NETSA, and we basically, well, essentially my job is to be able to help, I guess, the platforms of El Bueno, La Mala y El Feo and Freeway Show. We've been working from home since the 13th of Friday. I mean, lucky me, I have access, anywhere that I have internet, I can work from remotely. So that's been a good thing. But, just staying home, being safe. I actually haven't even gone outside. So yeah, I've just been taking all the precautions that we need to in order for us to all be able to go back to work as soon as we possibly can. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for joining. I know that you guys are really busy right now. I'm going to put you, can you mute your microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Because there was an echo going on there. So thank you, everybody, for sharing your insights around this question that I sent over. And for those of you that took the time to watch the TED Talk before jumping in, thank you. If you haven't seen it, it's only 11 minutes long. So maybe after jumping off this video conference call, well, I shouldn't call it conference call. It's our quarantine podcast TED Talk Club. You guys should definitely listen to it. Emil had to step out. He was taking care of some kid business that came up. But I do want to hand over the virtual microphone that I have here to Miss Angie Correa. We both have the same last name, but we're probably related down the line. But I want her to kind of introduce herself. And many of you guys maybe that attended the ELLAS conference last year might have met her. But if you haven't met her, Angie is a executive coach for Powerhouse Women. So you will hear from her and she'll take it away.
Yay!
Woo!
You guys are so amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be on here with everyone. So yeah, as a quick introduction, I am Angie Correa. I'm an executive coach. I worked at companies like Yahoo, NBC, Terra.com, Maxim, and then as of the last 7 years, became a senior elite coach, specializing in working with women in media in their mid to senior level positions to help them either navigate up in that career or out of that career. And I think, you know, this being the first call was super appropriate because what I found was the invisible to visible really truly did start happening while I was transitioning through this really intense career that I had, you know, helping launch Yahoo en Español, moving over into, you know, Terra.com and really being a voice, right, for the underserved communities out there, whether it was in, you know, content and marketing and sales, but really understanding that it was a part of who I was. You know, I consider myself, you know, a career / executive coach, but also a cash strategist, because one of the things that I really learned throughout my upbringing was that, you know, my mom, I were, you know, Puerto Rican girls from the Bronx, right? And my mom was a single mom living in a 5th-story walk-up, and we had to support however we could. So my sister and I would, you know, cook and clean and do all the things around the house. But I started working at 13 years old at the local, you know, center and, you know, or at retail jobs to support what my mom was doing to be able to provide us with an amazing upbringing. And so I think, you know, this conversation really opened up so much for me because, you know, if you ask my mom, she would say, oh my God, Angie's been this like, she's been visible or forced herself into visibility since she was born. But I have to say that, you know, one of the stories that comes to mind was when I started working at Yahoo and I was terrified and I, you know, was considered the office J-Lo. And that's the only reason why they even spoke to me half the time. And I worked there for almost 8 years, and I was helping launch a major division of Yahoo en Español. And it was really disheartening because it was like, do they not see what I bring to the table? Do they not understand that I'm another valuable player on the team? And quite frankly, they didn't. They truly did not, right? So I was sitting in the New York office. I was, you know, one of the only people in the team from the Miami cohort. And so it was, that part of it was a little disheartening, but what it did was that it truly propelled me into creating space for myself that I was like, I am not going to allow what's happening to me or how people see me or how they envision where I belong to dictate how I treat others, number one, but also what it started opening up was that I was a player coach within the organizations that I worked in because I knew that something was happening, right? And whether it was that I worked at mostly male dominated, you know, divisions, or just that fact that it was like there were no Latinas with me, I still had this thing that I was like, okay, I'm going to help my people, my women. And sorry for the men that are on the call, but like I truly work with, you know, anybody who supports us, I'll work with you too. But it was really this intersection between, is it just because I'm a woman? Is it just because I'm a Latina? Or is it just, you just don't see me at all? And so what I loved about some of the things that some of the people were talking about was like Mayo, you were saying, right? It's not where I work, it's who I am. Like, I was like, yes, girl, preach. Because that's exactly what I think going from invisible to visible is about, the ways of being. Right. And so it's not like, what I'm really working with my clients is that we shouldn't be in this formula of doing, right, then having, and then being. It's really being, then being, then doing, then having. So if you follow me, right, the doing is the action, right? But it's that massive action. Now, a lot of people are taught that's where you need to like create results and do all this stuff. And you definitely need to do that for sure. But what ends up happening is that so many people are just in like, if I do a good job, if I'm a good person, if I'm a good wife, if I'm nice to my friends, like that's going to be great. Well, yeah, it could be. But if you're not being authentic, if you're not being true to yourself, if you're not being clear about your wants and your desires, then all of the doing in the world is still not going to get you the result that you want. Does that make sense? I want people to also interject and be like, I don't get that. Like, I don't understand. But it's been a big eye-opener for me, because really when I am settled inside my body, and I think that this time right now that we're going through is a perfect example of how people can truly shift into the beingness of who they are. People aren't calling you from 15 years ago, Lucy, because you like did this or did that. It was like, how did they feel when they were around you? Those words that you said were inspiring. That was a truly human to human interaction. And that's what connects people no matter what, right? And so we have a tremendous opportunity right now to really step into that even further and say, okay, well, I can make all the schedules I want, or I can, pack up, somebody was like, oh, I'm going to pack up all this food for homeless people. I'm like, that's great. That's amazing. So where is it coming from? What's the intention that you have behind these actions that you're taking? And when you set your intentions, then everything else starts to fall into place. Then the right actions start coming to the forefront. And then the results are truly the results that you're looking to achieve. So I'm just going to pause right there for a quick second, because that was a lot. And it took me a long time I've been doing this work for probably, 15 years. So
can you say that like one more time?
Yeah, sure. So which part?
All of it. The last whole chunk of it.
Okay. So the premise is, right? The premise is we have an intention, right? We get to create who we're being, right? So when Maya was talking about, it doesn't matter where I work, it was who I am. That's why people reach out to me. So the who I am is a who she's being. Right? So she's being, compassionate. She's being supportive. She's being loving. She's being, encouraging. Right? But it's truly coming from a place of like, that's just who she is. Like, she's warm. She's inviting. Those are the beingness of who you are, right? People are, they're being rigorous. Right now, it's about being rigorous. It's about, okay, like we get to be rigorous about the things that we actually need to accomplish so that we can get the results that we want on the other side of it. Everybody's had to pivot, right? And so many people are in this doingness of just like, okay, I have to call everybody, and I have to make money, and I have to, keep on searching for jobs because I'm in the career space, right? So people are still like trying to go on interviews, and I'm like, yeah, but your intention is from scarcity, or your beingness is from fear, right? And so then when you start from like, okay, I'm going to be calm, and I'm going to be welcoming, and I'm going to be open to possibilities. Right? I'm going to be, right now it's about everybody being open to possibilities. What can I create? And then from that perspective, when you're really centered in that space, your actions then shift into, well, what will create that for you, right? So many people are now doing like the online workouts and all that. And it's like, actually, yeah, that's a big piece of how you get to take the action to stay calm from the beingness, right? To then get the result of like, you're more productive. Does that land? Is that making sense?
Yes. The second time around, I think it made more sense.
I took notes.
Good.
I took notes.
Yeah. So think about it this way, right? Like, it's like, if you just even write down, do, be, do, have, be, right? And then be, do, have, right? When you look at the first sentence, the do, have, be, you're leaving being happy, being, calm, being at peace, being, forgiving to the end. You're leaving those things to the end. And quite frankly, if you start with the beginning of those things, and that being the beginning of how you move through your days and how you move through your life, the result ends up being what you actually want.
Mm.
Right? So
Oh
many
my
people,
gosh.
yeah, I'll be happy when I have $1 million in the bank. Well, why can't you be happy now? I'll be happy when I lose the 40 pounds. Well, why can't you be happy now? I'll be happy when this is over. When this is over, I'll be happy. Well, you can still be happy now because there's so many blessings in your life right now. We can do this now. I've not connected with more people in such a short amount of time than I have in the last week and a half. The connections, the conversations, the ability for me to be a support system to some people, the ability for me to open possibilities for certain people, like it grew exponentially. And not one time did I stop and say, what is in it for me? I was like, my intention is to be a support system for others to come and say, okay, like, what do you need? And how can I support? Because that's where I get my juice from. And so I start at 6 o'clock in the morning and I don't stop until 10 o'clock at night. Right.
Oh my God.
And I love it. And I love it. People think, oh, that's horrible. I'm like, no, because I am being a support system. I am being compassionate with people's experiences. I am being a source of possibility for people. And when you get to do those things, then the results on the other side, I have not felt a financial impact. And on the contrary, I've had more people sign up with me to work with me in different capacities in the last 72 hours than I've had in the last 3 months.
Wow. Yeah, and
that's
I think
a beingness.
Going back to what you were saying, the whole intention part,
right?
And that's you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot to take in. I took notes, but I think that was mind blowing. The whole do have be versus be do have.
Right.
Just even writing it out. It's so true. We're always just like, well, I don't have it now, but you're just thinking ahead. Like, okay, whenever I do have it, I'll be happy.
Right.
Or whenever that happens, I'll feel more confident. Or whenever that happens, I won't be afraid. But it's like, why can't you be afraid now? And that kind of takes us back a little bit to the podcast. There's something that I wrote that because I took notes to it, the podcast, the TED Talk. Maria, that I wrote down the quote that she said, as a little girl, the cartoon character that she would envision herself to be was like shedding off invisibility and showing off my superpower of visibility and owning my voice. And it just brought me back that it's so true. I think when we're all little, we're all this fearless little person. And then as we get older, all of a sudden we're afraid of everything.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you just brought that up because I literally am part of another cohort that we call ourselves the Justice League. We all gave ourselves superhero names and we address each other as our superheroes.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so great.
And legitimately, it's like we're nurses and doctors and lawyers and coaches and stay-at-home moms and homeschoolers. And literally we address each other as, hey, and now I'm of course I'm forgetting the names, but we literally address each other as I'm like Flash Queen. I'm like Flash Queen. Okay, we're going in a flash because I'm like, this train is on the tracks. We're going full speed ahead. You're either on or you're off. Come on, you're on or you're off. Because honestly, I think the other thing is that people are sitting and waiting. People are sitting and waiting, and that is the worst thing that people can do because you're then giving away your power. You're then giving it to somebody else, whether it's the government or your job or your parents or whoever it is. And it's you get to be decisive. There's no gray area during this time. This time is for you to say, okay, what do you want? If you answer one question during this whole entire time, what do I want? What do I want in your life right now, in the future, whatever it is, write it all down, get really specific, make it audacious, make it crazy, have people be like, you're sick, you're what are you thinking about? And that's your actual dream. Really anchor into that and then just go for it. And then make decisions from that place. Because the thing is that if we're wishy-washy, right, you can't have two opposing thoughts at the same time. You can't want to have $1 million in the bank, but then be in scarcity and be like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Very true.
Opposing thoughts at the same time, ever. effort. It'll cancel each other out. So people that are spiraling right now is because they're not getting clarity. And it's like, ultimately, how do you want to feel at the end of it being? I want to be calm. I want to be secure. I want to be grounded. And that's how I've been feeling throughout this whole thing. Calm, grounded, secure.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's how,
and we're all kind of wishing that we would be feeling
yeah,
that way.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, and it's funny because it's like, yeah, we all worked in media. I worked at NBC for so long. I mean, it would be natural for me to turn on the news. I mean, I'm not consuming. I'm like, okay, this is the facts. I'm quarantining myself. Got it. I know what to do. All right, keep going. Business as usual, right? Like sit down, hunker down. Like I'm not going to be on repeat with the things that are going to create anxiety, with the things that are going to create angst, with the things that are going to put us into insecurity. It's like, okay, this is happening. We can't control that. What can we control? If
Right.
I can control that I wake up in the morning at 6:30 in the morning and I have a prayer group and we get all on a Zoom just like this. And we literally have a pastor on the group and she prays for a half an hour and we all pray. And at 7:30, I work out. I have a Zoom and we work out. Like,
Oh my
it's
God.
like, I'm like, okay. I do everything in this room now.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Angie. And I think that's one of the things bringing structures to our life. You know, our schedule right now. I'll share very quickly my own personal example. I was waking up at 4:50 because I had to be in the office at 6 a.m. when I was with news. And now, because I started off this new gig and my office is the room next door, I don't know I've lost it. It's like I'm going to sleep at 12 a.m. I'm waking up at 8:45. I'm eating at 3 p.m. I'm like, okay, right now you're enjoying that, but at some point, Nancy, you need to get it together. This can't happen because it starts like even throwing you off. Like I think my body doesn't even know when to ask me that it wants food because it's like, is she gonna eat at 12 today or she's gonna eat at 4?
Yeah, exactly. So I will share. I mean, if you don't mind,
yeah,
go
ahead.
One journal that I've been using for quite some time is actually the High Performance Journal. I have it. It's all messy because I've been using it for a while, but it's a High Performance Planner by Brendan Burchard. And what I love about it is that it gives you like the times of the day, but it also asks you some really poignant questions, like today's message to myself, right? Today, funny enough, today's message that I wrote at like 5:45 this morning was, you get to be seen and have people engage with you.
Ta-da!
You get to be, that was actually what I wrote. Like you get to be seen and have people engage with you. And then it takes you through morning mindset. And then it takes you through like today's top 3 priorities. And then at the end of the day, I get to evening journal, right? And it also, it prompts you. So it's like, if you can't, I truly believe that people need prompts no matter what. And so, you know, we can be the most organized and the most, you know, diligent about things, but I think writing it down and like actually seeing it and walking around with it is it takes it out of your body and puts it into fruition.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Angie. You dropped a lot of gems.
Thank you.
I wrote a lot of good notes. I know it's always a pleasure talking to you. I mean, I fell in love with Angie the first time I heard her talk. I'm like, oh my God. And then at our conference, you know, the feedback and the interaction with the girls and everything, you definitely made an impact that day to a lot of young women. I want to quickly just check if Emil wanted to jump in and say anything. I know he's back on the line. Emil, I'm back. Hi.
Hey.
Yes, so we wanted to, you know, get your feedback. I know you had to run to take care of your boy.
It was bath time.
No worries.
What's the question?
So the discussion was, when was it that you felt that you were no longer invisible? What was that breakthrough moment in your life?
Well, thinking about this question, I just remembered, I guess, kind of early on when I was like pretty young, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8. Like I used to draw as a child, and when I discovered I had like a little bit of skill at drawing, and people would notice, and then not just people related to me or not just my friends, but people would be like, "Hey, man, that's a cool drawing." And when I figured out that I can make this contribution, to the world, like, oh, people know me for my art. People, want to talk to me because of that. I was like, huh. So, I mean, that's, I guess, getting recognized, having that kind of recognition always made me feel like, oh, I can contribute as a creative.
Yeah. And that's what you do now as a creative.
Yeah. See, even back, I'm like in my 40s now, and I still remember knowing, getting that recognition from when I was a child.
Right. And I guess ever since then, you've been such a creative person. So what you do as a videographer and your photography, you're amazing at that. Thank you so much, Emil, for joining us.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining. So I just wanted to hand over the virtual mic to Pilar. So Pilar is the founder of ELLAS. So if you guys saw the event, had some information about ELLAS. It said ELLAS and Nancy. Originally, this idea kind of started when girls were reaching out to me about they missed my podcasts, as I mentioned at the beginning, because I was always sharing what I was listening to that morning during my commute to work, which was like a 30-minute or sometimes an hour. But then I thought about, obviously I serve on the board of ELLAS, Embracing Latina Leadership Alliances, and we've been trying to think of ways, because with this whole pandemic, it's affecting the plans that we have. We do our annual empowerment conference, which that's no longer going to be taking place because obviously if right now schools don't even know when they're going back into session, there's no way that we can even coordinate a conference. And we know that this is obviously also affecting a lot of the families. So I decided to also put a spin to this and create more of not only like a space for us to discuss podcasts and TED Talks and have these special guests like Angie, but also like any of the people that do show up, if they do want to make any like voluntary donations, you can do so on the ELLAS website, whether it's $2, $3, whatever the case may be. But at the end of all these virtual hangouts, the goal is that whatever money we do accumulate in totality, pinpoint and reach out to some of the counselors and talk to them specifically to which ELLAS students and families would benefit more from these funds, whether it's a $100 gift card that we can get them, a $50 gift card. But everybody knows that during these times, and our audience that we work with are underprivileged Latina high school girls, that their families can definitely benefit from. So I kind of gave Pilar and told her about my idea, and we jumped on a call, and I really wanted her to join. She is the founder of ELLAS, like she mentioned, but I really want her to just kind of give a word and quickly introduce herself to the people that have never actually met her, which I know there's a few here in the call. So Pilar, virtual microphone to you.
Thank you, Nancy. My name is Pilar Pinel, and I am the founder of ELLAS. And why I decided to do the nonprofit was because I worked for the community college district for many years, and then worked for the legislative. And I just saw so many needs still being unaddressed, and community organizations or centers that really were walked in, and I just felt like it was about teen moms, teen pregnancy. It was about all of the interactive things you can, come in contact with that were not of a positive nature. And it was reaching out to D or failing students. And I felt we weren't all there. And there's a lot of C average that get overlooked. So my whole focus with ELLAS was that I believe we all have good within us. So it was, the mantra became a journey from good to greatness, because we're definitely all on a journey in our life. And it was to bring exposure, elevation for these young women who live in underprivileged environments where I walk them, I visit them, and I mean, you're hearing sirens, you're hearing gunshots, you're hearing foul language, and I even got on buses with them in the metro, and I thought, how can they go through all this and then go sit in a classroom and think? Like, sometimes we forget what others have to go through before they even get to a classroom, or maybe they didn't get that breakfast, and So much. So for me, it was all about encouragement, empowering, and its resource, its voice. Angie said, I mean, you're key on all that you said, Angie. I love it, and I know we were blessed to have you, and we want to have you back. So we are impacted in all of these youth that we reach out to. Is over 600 girls. They're impacted, and having them feel that moment of aha still, because they're no longer in their social environments. We're no longer working in those social environments. That's a big switch. You can work from home and that's great, but it does take a toll at times where you're thinking, God, I just got out of bed, I went to the kitchen, now let me put on my work hat, and you're in those different modes. And at some point you can say, no, I need to go out and breathe, right? So this is the same thing these girls are going through, but on in a social and academic level. I like that, Angie, you shared about the journal. So I did reach out to the girls at the schools before the schools shut down, and I asked them to get any kind of paperwork they have, loose leaf paper, and to write down, to think about themselves during this time. Think about where they are right now in school, where they see themselves going, and search on the internet of women who will inspire you, right? And write that down. What's going to motivate you and elevate you during times where your environment is not doing that for you? Because that's what it's all about. It's about that self-feeding of, that cheerleading kind of voice in the background of motivating. We all need that. So anyhow, you mentioned that universities closed, high schools are closed and stuff. So I like what you have done here. This platform is absolutely great. ELLAS had been working on, and we're going to get to that. Maybe this crossroads will make it happen sooner. It's a wall of inspiration where we're having all of these women who have beat all the odds, who have a story, and it's not even about the success, their story, because there's success in every story, and where there is, someone wants to call it failure or shortcomings, we all learn from that, we build from that. So to share these stories on ELLAS Wall of Inspiration on the website that we will be adding here in the near future, really these girls, it helps them. Mayola, you said it as well, very well. You're not realizing, we don't sometimes realize what we say, but that person walked away with that. Wow, how empowering. And they will never forget that.
Yes,
So,
and I'm going to chime in with that really quickly because, a ver, Pilar, can you mute your microphone real quick? Sorry, it's because it has the... But on that note, I just wanted to briefly share with everybody. I remember, I was one of those students that attended one of these annual empowerment conferences that Pilar put together back in like 2008. I think it was my first one, or 2007. And I remember Pilar came to campus, and it was that one thing that she said to me that I just never forget, because I was a little brat. You're in high school, like Pilar mentions, your environment. I just thought, I'll graduate from high school, my parents are going to be happy, because my older sister were high school dropouts, and I thought, they'll just be happy with me graduating from high school, getting whatever job, they can't tell me anything. And so I had a lot of, my environment was just not the healthiest in that moment. And Pilar walked in, they pulled me out of class because I was part of this Gear Up program that would help me do like my homework and stuff like that. And Pilar was working with this program on campus, and she sat me down. And I remember I was I gave a little bit of an attitude because I just didn't think anybody genuinely cared. Like I'm telling, like I was thinking, like do they really care for me, or like what's the actual interest behind it? And I remember just Pilar just telling me one thing, normally you have to knock a lot of doors and you're going to get a lot of no's. And this time there's an opportunity that's coming to you. And because she was the opportunity, and she was reaching out, and she genuinely cared. And I went to the first ELLAS conference that was totally out of my environment. Like Pilar mentions, environment is everything. I had never seen anything like it. I remember they had as a keynote speaker Maria Marin. She was with Univision during that time, or I know she had a book, but her story was very inspirational. And just overall, ever since then, since I was 14 years old, I've pretty much been like Pilar's little second daughter. She has a son. I guess her only daughter. It would be. But yes, I do appreciate and every time I have an idea, she's very open to go with it. She tells me run with it. You know, I just kind of run it through her really quickly. She just gives me the green light, and I just kind of get creative. So I get that flexibility, and that's why I'm so passionate about ELLAS, because I truly do believe in the mission, and I see the vision that this conference have and the organization, because I'm a product of that as well. But I just want to just quickly say thank you to everybody who joined. Pilar, did you want to add anything else? Sorry, so I just felt like I needed to share that.
Well, I appreciate that you did, Nancy, very much so. But yeah, that's what it's all about. And what people don't know is, and Nancy didn't know at the time, is that this money was my money. I sold my home. I liquidated my whole life. I thinned it down because it meant so much to me to address these C-average girls that were being overlooked and not being given opportunities, who had great potential. And so, Nancy, you're an example of that potential. But yeah, and for many years I struggled to get sponsoring for it, but it all worked out in the end, and I'm happy for that. It didn't mean I don't do it even for a salary for 18 years. I'm just very passionate about the next generation and seeing vibrant Latinas such as all of you that chimed in today. Nancy certainly is one of those young women because we have so much to give. So thank you, Nancy.
Yeah. Thank you, Pilar. And thank you, everybody, so much for joining. Be on the lookout for the next one. Once again, if you haven't heard the TED Talk, please do so. It's really good. If you didn't take notes, I'll post this recording or share it somewhere so you guys can take notes of the gems that Angie just dropped for all of us to keep in mind. But I do appreciate everybody taking the time and jumping on this virtual club with me. Definitely, it's fun to talk about something else out of the everyday news that we're now seeing and consuming, which is very important to keep up to date. But at the same time, it's good mentally to break away and have these discussions and conversations and to hear about everybody and their stories. So I do appreciate everybody who took the time out of their night, evening to join us. And yes, feel free to follow Angie on the comment section if you guys want to share anything else. Angie's on Instagram as Angie Correa _life 2.0. I'll post on my Instagram. Thank you, Alexia. So me despido. And thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you so much for organizing this. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Okay, Pilar, you can just hang up with the little phone.